course, I'm going to have to be a little bit down.
Do you have to? Can't you just meet with them privately? You kind of keep the vibe. You know?
Unfortunately, there's other things on the outside I want to. We have nothing to do with it.
Right.
No, nothing to do with it. I'm full on board with that. But we got to do this guy. Oh, you know, we're the wrong way. There we go. I must have hit something. Here's the festivities. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You'll be getting up to their seats.
Turn my own.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, abilities to fulfill those duties. Oaths have been a staple of representative government. Oaths of fealty have been around since recorded history, and oaths of office date back to at least the time of the Romans. Oaths have been a requirement for public office from our nation's inception. A unique aspect of oaths in the United States is that they are not to a monarch or a leader, but to the founding documents and ultimately the people that are governed. The Constitution sets out the presidential oath in full and expressly provides that Congress shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. As state and local governments formed, they adopted oath models after the federal oath, and the taking of an oath has become a requisite for holding nearly every public office. In recognition of the significance of the responsibility bestowed on those who serve their community, Minnesota Statute 358.05 requires that all local government officials, upon entering office, take the oath defined in the Minnesota Constitution, Article 5, Section 6. We will now administer the oath. First, Mayor Bob Thunheim, please come to the front. Mayor Thunheim is beginning his first term as mayor. City Clerk Christine Lucien will administer the oath of office.
I,
Bob
Bob Turbine,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the
of the United
Constitution of the
States,
United States,
the Constitution of the State of
the
Minnesota,
Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and impartially execute the duties of City Council
and impartially execute the duties of City Council
for the City of Orono,
for the City of Orono,
County of Hennepin,
County of Hennepin,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Welcome, Mayor Thunheim.
Next, Councilmember Steve Persian, please come forward. Councilmember Persian is beginning his first term as an Orono council member. The city clerk will now administer the oath of office.
I, Steve Turbine,
I, Steve Persian,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and impartially execute the duties of city council
and impartially execute the duties of the City Council
for the city of Orono,
for the City of Orono,
County of Turbine,
County of Turbine,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Welcome, Councilmember Persian.
Councilmember Jacqueline Ricks, please come forward. Councilmember Ricks is beginning her first term as Orono City Council member. The state clerk will now administer the oath.
I, Jacqueline Ricks. I, Jacqueline Ricks. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the State of Minnesota. The Constitution of the State of Minnesota. And impartially execute the duties of City Council. And impartially execute the duties of City Council. For the City of Orono. For the City of Orono. State of Minnesota. State of Minnesota. County of Turbine. County of Turbine. To the best of my judgment and ability. To the best of my judgment and ability. Welcome.
Could I ask each of the newly sworn in folks to come sign your life away on the oath form, please?
All right, I would like to call the meeting to order, noting that all four council members and mayor are all present, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Before we move to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda, I'd just like to make a couple of remarks. Welcome to the first meeting of the year of Orono City Council. It's wonderful to see so many of you here, particularly in light of the fact that our Vikings are playing a playoff game tonight. And thank you for your interest in local city government. Elected officials are not always acknowledged for the challenging work that they perform. As such, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the many combined years of service to our community by Mayor Dennis Walsh and council members Richard Crosby, Maria Beach, and Matt Johnson. They will be formally recognized in resolutions that we pass tonight, but please join me in thanking them with our applause. I want to be clear about how our newly constituted city council intends to operate. We live in a country that is polarized and incredibly divided. It has, unfortunately, become socially acceptable to be aggressive and rude to one another, whether on social media or face-to-face. Based on my experience of living in Orono for nearly 28 years, it's my observation that our community has more in common than not. Leadership committed to respecting differing values and viewpoints, Building strong relationships and maintaining professionalism bolsters the democratic process in local government. We ran a campaign last fall on a return to civility, and the voters of Orono overwhelmingly voiced their approval for that approach. As such, here is what you can expect from your city council. We will treat each one of our citizens with respect and civility. As one of our first objectives as a council, we will be adopting a code of conduct. We will welcome public comment on such a code. Once adopted, we will hold each other accountable to it. We expect everyone who represents Orono, including elected officials, city staff, commissioners, and volunteers, to treat everyone with respect. If any of you experience disrespectful or uncivil behavior from a representative of Orono, I want to hear about it. In fostering this culture of civility I'm talking about, we expect that our citizens conduct themselves appropriately when engaging with City Hall. You may not be getting the answer you wanted, but you will be given an explanation as to why the city may disagree with your hoped-for result. We hope that you'll walk away feeling like you were listened to and respected. I also want to be clear that we welcome your feedback. As such, we will be immediately moving public comment to the beginning of the meeting to get your input before we make decisions. And at least initially, we will be removing the visible time clock. To respect others who wish to speak, we will still be limiting comments to 3 minutes each. And when the mayor asks you to sit down, please do so. Do not expect a dialogue or interaction with the council. We will politely listen to your points and perspectives, and we'll take them into account in making the decisions you elected us to make. But I also want to be clear, public comment is not a free-for-all without limits. We will not give bad faith, disrespectful actors an unlimited public stage at taxpayer expense at our public meetings. We experience this on a regular basis. Additional restrictions may unfortunately be necessary to allow all voices to be heard. I know I speak for each of us on this council in saying we are humbled by the trust you have placed in us, and we will do our very best to be good stewards of that trust. I may be too much of an optimist, but maybe this is a start in our small community of Orono for restoring much needed civility in our society. Thank you, and let's get started. First item is to consider the agenda. Any changes to the agenda, not including the consent agenda, we'll get to that in a minute. Any changes to the agenda itself? All right, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. These items are considered routine, will be enacted by one motion, no discussion, unless a council member or staff requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull 5 for conversation.
Okay. Item number 5 has been removed from the consent agenda. Anything else? All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to public comments. An opportunity for the public to address the City Council. The Council will not engage in discussion or take action on items presented at this time. However, the Council may refer issues to staff for follow-up or consideration at a future meeting. Speakers should state their name and home address at the podium before speaking. Council will first open the podium to City of Orono residents before opening the podium to any member of the public to address the Council. Please step forward if you've got comments.
Good evening, Kelly Perkle, 4705 Watertown Road. I'd like to thank the new council for serving, look forward to your leadership, and focus on a collaborative approach to many of the issues that have challenged our past administration. I was disappointed to see the propaganda put out in the last week, and I think it demonstrates a lack of trust in this community who clearly voted for change. We know what we voted for, and we're thrilled that you're in office. I am hopeful the community will allow you the time to focus on the issues at hand, working towards those resolutions which position our city more favorably. It will not all get solved overnight, but your messages in your campaigns were clear, and this community clearly supports you. I would like to take this opportunity to ask formally for the council to consider a fire-related open forum. The community has been asking for this for a long time, an opportunity to have a say. And while the election results were clear that the direction we were headed in and previously was not supported, I think it's important to have an open forum to allow the community to voice concerns and ask questions as you begin to look for a new path forward. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Other comments?
Good evening. I am Charlie Miner. I'm the mayor of the city of Long Lake, 450 Virginia Avenue, Long Lake. I would like to congratulate those of you who were recently elected to the Orono City Council. You stepped forward to serve at one of the most challenging times in your city's history. I cannot emphasize enough how excited the city of Long Lake and our city council is to have a group of civic-minded individuals sitting at the dais who campaign on the pledge of repairing relations with not only your own residents, but with neighboring cities. And Councilmember Benson, you are obviously not newly elected, but you've been actively trying to maintain positive relationships with surrounding cities and with your own residents during your entire time in office. On behalf of the city of Long Lake, I also want to extend my deepest gratitude to the residents of Orono. You sent a clear message that you want your city to get along with your neighbors and to make changes in several areas, most notably the direction the city was headed regarding fire service. My grandparents moved to Orono in the early 1960s, followed by my parents. I grew up in Orono until moving to Long Lake when I was 17 years old, which is where I've lived ever since. My entire K through 12 education was across the street in the Orono schools, and I was a reserve police officer for the city of Orono for 5 years after graduating from high school. An odd fact is that my first police station was, Orono Police Station was located in the city of Long Lake, which is now the Gronberg and Associates building. My point is that we are one large community. Whether you live in Long Lake and send our kids to the Orono schools, or whether you live in Orono and visit the many great restaurants or retail establishments in Long Lake, we're all part of one community and we all need to work together. Our residents deserve high quality, responsive, and financially prudent services from their cities. That is our goal as a Long Lake City Council, and I know it will be your goal as a newly elected Orono City Council. There are 14 cities on Lake Minnetonka, and besides the large city of Minnetonka, I do not know one who does not provide, receive, or share services with another city. I look forward to working with this new Orono City Council in the coming years. We have relationships to repair and a lot to accomplish, but I believe the future is very bright for our two cities. We have two great councils who I know are going to respect each other immensely and who will do what is right for not only our cities, but our residents and our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any other comments? Yes.
Hi, Kelly Grady, 271 Green Hill Lane, and I don't have a prepared speech, but I did want to just thank the newly elected council for your service, and we're looking forward to seeing a different way in Orono. As you talked about during your comments, the civility has been tough, and it's been hard to take as a non-resident who's felt I'm not represented by you technically as a council, but I've said repeatedly, and as Charlie pointed out, we are one community, and I felt that really strongly throughout the last several years, and that maintaining that unity is incredibly important. So I appreciate you stepping up for the community. I appreciate the citizens of Orono for coming out and voting, and I really look forward to a new future between our two cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
My name is Kelly Kaiser. I live at 3043 Tuxedo Boulevard in Mound. I'm here to speak about my experience with the Orono Police Department, who are contracted to serve the city of Mound. I placed my initial call in March of 2021 to make a report while also experiencing undiagnosed and new to me mental health symptoms. The police department focused on my mental health. No charges were filed, although it was later discovered that evidence of crimes had been provided. Fast forward to August of 2021. I placed my second call to report my electronics being hacked, and days later I placed my third call to report criminal sexual conduct. Unfortunately, my reports were not addressed appropriately, and the police department's focus remained on my mental health. After sending several emails, leaving several messages, and making a few visits to the police station in person, I rarely received a reply or a return call, but when I did, I was dismissed, asked inappropriate questions about my mental health, had an officer visibly expressing his annoyance with me, told by an investigator that the prosecution would keep me alive on the stand, and I was forced into the position of investigating my own case. So I did just that. It wasn't until October 27th, during a follow-up call I made with one of the investigators. On accident, I had discovered the second rape video I had submitted 6 weeks prior had never been viewed. From this point, the case finally started to come together, or so I thought. The case did end up with a conviction and a 48-month prison sentence beginning April of 2022. July 2022, I contacted the Orono Police Department again to report that the evidence of the perpetrator acting strangely around my modem was found on the SD cards that I had turned into them back in August, and up until recently they had held it in evidence. Unfortunately, no further charges were filed against the perpetrator nor any of his accomplices, despite having the security camera footage and a recorded phone call of me and Motorola, where Motorola advised me to hang up the phone, call 911, and tell them I had been hacked. I did just that, even though I had already placed a call earlier in the day. But I was told they don't deal with that kind of thing, they don't know who did, and offered me the advice to unplug my security cameras, turn off my Wi-Fi, don't use my phone, and go to bed. I'm here today to voice my concern over the lack of training regarding understanding and respecting victims with or without mental health issues. Not following proper protocol listed in the code of conduct, and the lack of respecting victims and the victims' human rights, civil rights, including those listed in the American Disabilities Act. Specific to my case, I filed my own formal complaint to Adam Edwards and was told it was going to be investigated by Sergeant Zunick. I expressed my concerns to both Adam and Sergeant Zunick, with my complaint being handled within the department, and the most recent response I received states that the employee issues are handled internally. I'm here today to voice that I am in full agreement that if my complaint was about 1 or 2 officers, it could and should be handled internally. However, my complaint includes the chief of police, a sergeant, 2 investigators, and a few patrol officers, which to me says this is not an employee issue and is actually a department issue. With that said, I'm asking again to have this complaint assigned to a neutral third party, as having the police investigate themselves and decide the consequences doesn't make sense. doesn't leave room for fairness, and without a doubt would be done with a biased opinion in favor of themselves. For myself and for the community, and because of the sensitive and complex nature of the complaint, I'm asking that the obvious conflict of interest be eliminated, and it be assigned by an independent agency who has experience with handling such issues. I will be speaking at the Mound City Council meeting tomorrow, being Mound is the city I live in, to inform them of this situation. I will likely be back with an update, as my main goal is for our victims to never have to go through what I have been through. I was seeking help and safety because I was in need of help and safety and should have received that, but that was not what I received. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Jay Niger, 1386 Westmont Road. You all know me. I've actually been talking to Ms. Kaiser for a little while now, and I encourage her to come here and talk to you people specifically because of what she's gone through. Because I've been through similar things in this community where it seems like law enforcement or other resources are only for some people. And I myself suffer my own malady, so I can completely relate to what she's going through, is how when you're reaching out for help, you get the opposite. And unfortunately, the phrase conflict of interest certainly seems to be nothing in the dictionary of the city of Orono. From Mr. Maddox to Mr. Edwards to Chief Arniak to the former council. When you brought that phrase up, you're knocking on a brick wall. And that's what Ms. Kaiser has run into. And it's very frustrating that not only does she have to deal with what she's dealing with, but she has to come here simply to ask for a neutral agency to help her out. So that some of the people, I hate to say, Orono Police Department, help inflame her issues, aren't involved in resolving these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor Tenai and members of the City Council. My name is Daniel Gustafson. I live at 1040 East Circle Drive in Wayzata. With my wife Alicia and our 3 daughters, aged 14, 13, and 10. I'm the owner of Lake Minnetonka Real Estate 2 LLC. My company is currently engaged in litigation with the City of Orono over a slander of title claim involving property we own, an issue that began under the previous administration. For those unfamiliar, slander of title occurs when false statements are made about property ownership, casting doubt on the rightful owner's claim. This can harm the property's value, interfere with its use, and hinder its sale or development, resulting in financial harm. I believe the city has slandered my title in 2 distinct ways. First, before Matt Johnson joined the council, he and the Feldshans, his neighbors, filed a lawsuit against the city seeking to establish ownership of the property. At the time, the city denied any interest in the property, disavowed any interest in the property, and affirmed my predecessor's title as a defense to that lawsuit. However, while the case was still ongoing, Matt Johnson was elected to city council, and the final court order was issued after he took office. After I purchased the property, the city reversed its position, asserting an interest in the property. This position has been maintained over the past 2 years, including in a brief the city filed with the Supreme Court today. Second, the city has repeatedly claimed that property decreed in probate cannot be sold by an administrator. These statements were made to the LMCD Board of Directors, LMC Legal Counsel, staff, and board. It's documented in email, video, meeting minutes, and findings of fact from the LMCD. However, this claim made by the city and City Attorney Soren Maddox is inaccurate. It contradicts Minnesota statutes and case law, which are well documented. I've sent them to you. On behalf of my company, I submit a letter to Mayor-elect Bob Thunheim on January 2nd, 2025. And I respectfully request that this be included in the official meeting minutes under the public comments section. I understand the council will enter a closed session agenda, item 24, to discuss this issue later today. I kindly ask the council to review my letter and the supporting materials during that session. Additionally, I urge the City Council to investigate what I believe are bad faith claims by former elected officials, specifically Matt Johnson and Denny Walsh and City Attorney Soren Maddock, asserting that Orono has riparian rights in Outlaw B of Dragonfly Hill. I also ask the council to investigate what appears to be a coordinated title attack by Matt Johnson's former co-litigants, Mr. and Mrs. David Felshine. I also urge investigation into whether or not the previous administration sought to gain title to the riparian rights and vacate them to Matt Johnson through this court action, its actions in front of the LMCD, or under proposed ordinance LA 24-000005, where the city proposed to label docks on public waters public right-of-way so that they could be vacated to Matt Johnson, potentially. Finally, in part of my letter to Mayor tonight, I indicated that Matt Johnson was using my service mark, the phrase Lake Minnetonka Real Estate, in his Google business listing while serving as an Orono council member. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I welcome the new leadership and look forward to working with the council and the city to resolve this matter alongside my legal counsel, Tom Radio, who previously served as the city attorney for Orono. This is a serious matter, and I remain committed to reaching a fair and constructive resolution. And I have some documents I'd like to provide to you to look at during agenda item 24. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we will move on to the Public Works report. Item 15, 16, and 17.
Mr. Mayor, did you want to do item number 5?
Item number 5 first.
Sure. Removed from the consent.
Yeah. So item number 5 dealt with annual appointments. And Ms. Barrett, I believe you pulled that from the agenda.
I did, and thank you, and it's just brief. It's my understanding that the Orono Ice Arena is one of the appointments, and it wasn't on the list. And is that not required?
It is one of the appointments that fell off the list. That would be an oversight.
My understanding that the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota requires that a city member, Orono Council, as well as a school board member from Orono are on the board.
It is not. The draft name forward was to be Councilmember Persian to fill that when we were coordinating for that. So we can update that on the annual appointments.
Given that this has been pulled, I would make a motion to amend Resolution 7548, adding an appointment of a contract negotiating team consisting of Bob Thunheim and Steve Persian for the purpose of conducting negotiations with the city of Long Lake. The provisions regarding fire service can be discussed.
I think that's a motion.
It is a motion.
To amend. Do you have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other proposed amendments to that resolution, or are we ready to act on it? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to approve the revised resolution as revised through the two amendments that we just heard. Anyone care to make that motion?
So I can, so I'm going to move to amend the consent, including my amendment of Resolution 7546, annual appointments, to include a fire contract negotiating team consisting of Bob Junheim and Steve Bershon.
And then I think the other part you were looking
Yeah,
at,
there was another,
nice arena.
Oh, and the ice arena. And that would be, the appointment would be for Steve Bershon.
we have a second to that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now let's move on to the Public Works Report, items number 15, 16, and 17.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, welcome. Congratulate all three of you, past council members who served. So before you this evening, I have three separate documents for some equipment that services the Public Works Department in various capacities. Item number 15 is a sewer cleaning piece of equipment that we use to gain access behind houses, off roadway areas, to clean underground sewer pipes. Motion is to approve flexible piping equipment for the replacement of the existing unit that's almost 20 years old. Questions? We want to tackle these all as one council?
They should be separate. So we have a motion to approve item 15, place equipment, sewer cleaning easement machine.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's move on to item 16.
All right, item 16. This one is a replacement of an existing piece of equipment that we have, our tractor backhoe, with two pieces of equipment to better utilize and better serve the needs. One is a mini loader. It's basically a downsized version of what you see running around the roads and loading equipment. More so for our streets and sidewalk trail areas, for snow removal and better access in the smaller confines. The mini excavator will primarily be used for ditching and off-roadway access once again. With the size of that machine, it does need to be trailered through the city, so that's the need for the third piece of equipment, which is the trailer. The existing piece of equipment would be traded in, and there's an allotment in the council action for that.
Any questions about this proposed purchase? I guess this was all budgeted, part of the capital.
Capital, yes, this was all for last fall with the prior administration, vetted with the council, with the capital improvement plan.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve 16.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not. Signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 17.
This last one is fairly simple. It's a replacement of one of our pickup trucks, our grocery getters as we refer to them in Public Works. The existing vehicle is starting to show its age, and just trying to stay on top of some replacements before they start to be maintenance items for us. So brand new 2024 vehicle serve the needs of both our street and stormwater division.
And again, this was part of the capital plan for 2025.
And under budget.
Under budget, yes. Well done. Any questions? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve item 17.
Motion to approve item 17.
Is there a second? So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. I'll move on to the attorney report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Welcome aboard and happy new year. I do have some comments under the closed session, so I'll leave it to that time. One thing I would ask on your agenda, and I didn't do a motion, we talked about the agenda, but fine. The item of adjournment is listed before closed session. I would ask that be after closed session, so if we, after mayor and council reports, we can go to closed session. I may help with just how to close it, but the adjournment would happen after the closed session, so the public is aware of how that is working. With that, I stand for any questions, otherwise I'll be prepared for the closed session.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out. Now we'll move on to the city administrator / engineer report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first item we have on my section is number 18, which is the work session schedule. So this is, for those of you new to the council, this is an item you will see reoccurring through time as we go laying out subjects for upcoming work sessions for the council. As you know, we did not do a work session today, and what I have proposed for January 27th are two items. One is the elected officials' procedures and code of conduct, as was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, and the second subject, which I understand some of the new council members would like to discuss, is the subject of special elections. So those are what I have there, and then the rest of the year, you can see where we do have items identified at this point. We have listed there. One thing, just to again for the new council members to know, we normally are able to tackle kind of some new items early in the year. You'll note once we start getting to mid-year, we take up about half of our work sessions discussing budget as we start to prepare the 2026 budget and all its related items. So opportunities to discuss any initiatives and things like that, I would recommend we do as early in the year as we can.
Thank you. Are you comfortable that if we push the vision and goal setting to next meeting and combine it with the other items that are listed there, that we'll have enough time to deal with all of those issues, or should we be moving things around?
I think we could move that if we kept it at a high level. And the intent of what we worked for, what I wanted to talk with you all about today was just some of those high level things and what were your goals and priorities, particularly over the next 12 months, so that we could do things like fill out the work session agenda with those topics you want to talk about. So I think if we keep it at high level, and then we could use that to schedule future discussions where we go into those topics more in depth. That should be doable.
Okay, and I think I should give a little bit of an explanation as to why we did not have the work session tonight. It was there were issues raised about whether we should be even having a work session prior to being sworn in. And so just to remove all of those issues, we canceled the meeting. Sorry if any of you showed up here at 5 o'clock expecting a work session, but that was done on the website this morning. And at any rate, we look forward to some good discussion at these upcoming meetings. Any questions or discussion of the council in terms of setting this schedule? I assume it can be subject to change if things come up and we have other items to discuss.
The only one we're kind of putting in stone is the next meeting. Everything else we can.
Got it. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt this work schedule.
Make a motion to adopt this work schedule for work sessions.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 19.
So items 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23 are all going, I'll go through each of them, but they're all for engineering and design work to be authorized for some projects we have on the schedule for this year. Normally, I know I mentioned to some of you in some of the orientations, a lot of times I would put these things on the consent agenda, as we would also some of the things that DJ presented in the early on, because we would have discussed them as we did these in the fall. But as there's so many new folks on the council, we thought we would at least give a quick rundown of any of these in case there are questions in the form. So what I will do is I'll just throw up some slides that we used during the capital improvement planning process to kind of run through these. So the first one, item number 19, is the 2025 sanitary sewer rehabilitation design. Every year, as part of our sanitary sewer works, we look to rehabilitate a percentage of our sewer system. In most years, what we're looking at doing is doing what's called a cured in place pipe lining, which is basically inserting a new pipe inside the old pipes. The idea behind all of this is to ensure, one, that the longevity of our infrastructure, but also particularly to go after inflow and infiltration, and that's water coming into our sanitary system that we don't want to come into our sanitary system. That inflow and infiltration costs us a great deal of money, as it is treated by the Metropolitan Council, as well as we can receive fines from the Metropolitan Council if we exceed certain limits that they have for each city. For 2025, we're looking at changing things up a little bit and actually using our sewer rehabilitation project to primarily go after the sealing of the manholes. And so those are the structures that allow us access to the sewer system between the pipes. We have identified a number of manholes that we've been doing our normal annual inspections that have cracks or other issues with the lids or what have you, where we've got water coming in. So we did receive a proposal from Bolton & Mink, our engineering firm, to put the design together for us. That's in your packet. The overall project we have on the CIP at $300,000, which has pretty much been the standard for us for a number of years. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions? None. I would entertain a motion to approve item 19.
Make a motion to approve item 19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 20.
Number 20, this item is the new public works facility, salt shed, and commodities area. As you all know, we have a fairly new facility for our public works on the south side of Highway 12. One of the issues that we had when we were developing that site was the costs that we incurred when we went through our first round of bidding. Required us to go out and rebid. We had to downscope our project, and the way that we did, the primary way that we were able to do that was by the removal from that initial project of the commodities yard and the salt shed. Now we're looking to basically finish the project and get the commodities yard and salt shed constructed. The original estimated price for those facilities is $1.3 million. Those dollars would come out of the facilities fund. There's a proposal in your packet from Bolton & Mink to do the fine design and put together the bidding items for us. One thing that we have started to tentatively look through without having gone into any detailed design yet is changing up some of the items for this to see if we can get that cost down using different building types. For example, for the salt shed, instead of a fixed facility, and using a membrane type building like some of our neighbors that have facilities and things like that. This project is fairly critical for us to do it for a couple reasons. One is the existing site is one of the main things that was an issue with where the existing old public works site is. It's right next to a wetland. It's constrained and it's oddly shaped, and particularly not the best place for us to be storing rides, although we do have the right protections in place, but long-term it's not ideal. And then secondly, it's just overall efficiency of our operations. All the equipment and all the people are over at the Public Works facility. The bulk materials are not. And one thing I did want to point out too on this part of the facility is that we do, this is one area where we do provide services to some of our sister agencies. We do store salt for the Orono School District and the city of Minnetonka Beach. And we do provide bulk material support to the city of Spring Park as part of our public works contracts. So if you have questions, that's all I have.
And this 1.3 million is, was budgeted for 2025?
It was, yes, in the facilities. Yes.
What are you hoping the savings would be with alternatives?
I'm hoping to maybe get this down to around $1 million. One of the good things we were able to do also, I guess I should point out, is we were able, as part of the initial building, we did most of the mass grading, so the earthworks that we need for wonder. So at this point, what we're really talking about is building the asphalt or the pavement structure on top of it, as well as then kind of the picture there. You see the bins and then the shelter for the salt. The stormwater infrastructure is also already on there. It just needs to be tied.
Any other questions?
Can I speak? Can I go?
Quickly, sir.
Hi, Gene Iyer again. Unfortunately to me, as a resident, this appears to be a continuation of the overloaded spending on public works. And to me, you guys haven't had enough time to sit in here and really look at, is this something we want to spend $1 million or more on right now? And Mr. Edwards did just say that over where we are at the old public works, they can make it work for a while. To me, I would say table this and look, let's say you guys haven't had a chance to look at it. Are we going to keep the public works? Aren't we going to keep the public works? Do we want to spend more money on it now? Do we not want to? Is it better to just be safe and table this until you guys can get a better handle on what's going on? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Other questions?
I would also like just to reassure the council, the one thing I'm not asking you for today is approval of the project. What I'm asking for is the ability to put the design plans together,
Which, by the way, costs money too.
Yes, it does.
Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve item number 20.
Make a motion to approve item number 20.
Is there a second?
Second?
Further discussion?
Adam, can you just kind of share a little bit about the initial phase here is to go out and get design plans?
Is to put together a design up into what we need to put the bid packet together to get it out for bids.
What is something like that cost?
It's in the packet, but I just don't have the number.
$32,100.
32.
Was it designed before, the original?
The overall site was designed, that's why we were able to put in the stormwater and the rough grading has been, or the earthworks have been predominantly done. So, yeah, we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to do. This will involve tweaking that and getting everything ready so we would have a big packet as well as the additional permitting and stuff.
So if this, another question, if this moves forward with the first phase, if you will, what's the timing look like to complete a project like this?
We would look to put the designs together, this winter, early spring. Ideally, we're going out for bids in the March, April timeframe, so that we could do construction starting in June and finishing by November.
Further discussion? Otherwise, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the design work for design and engineering work for this project? If you're in favor of it, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Move on to item 21, please.
Item number 21 is a maintenance, pavement maintenance related item. It is to seal the City Hall and police parking lot. As part of normal pavement maintenance, preventive maintenance activities, we normally try to go out and seal these pavements to get a longer life out of them. Normally we try and do this about every 7 years on a piece of pavement. We are behind. We're about 8 or 9 years since the pavement went down. So I'd like to do that. This is a relatively minor design effort. We just need quantities and then put together a spec book so we can go out and see some quotes for this one.
Any questions? I'm going to entertain a motion to approve it.
I make a motion to approve item number 21.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to item 22.
Item number 22 has actually 3 different projects in it, but I lumped them all together because they're all stormwater related. So the first part of that item is to do the design work for what we're calling the Casco Cove Stormwater Improvement. There's a number of lots, kind of you can see in the map there, that are owned by the city. It's a low wetland type area that collects water runoff from that surrounding area, and that water is then discharged to Lake Minnetonka. You can kind of see in the bottom picture there the yellow pipes signifying where that goes. This project would see basically a cleaning out of the low area where that water is held, as well as creating some stormwater infrastructure to help do some water quality improvement, and then rehabilitate or replace the piping and structures that lead from it to the lake. One thing, just for the new members of the council, we every 10 years we put together what's called a stormwater management plan. We do that in conjunction with the watershed district and the state. Runs concurrent with when we do the comp plan. But anyway, one of the things that's part of that is we identified in that plan projects that we think we need to do over the next 10 years. And all this to say, this is one of those projects that comes from that plan that we get identified as having needed to be done. We've been trying to space them out in time as we go through each year. The next one is a storm sewer upgrade. We actually had this one identified to be completed this past year. We were going to try to do it with in-house forces with Public Works. We were unable to get that accomplished, so I'm looking at turning this into a contracted project so we can accomplish it in 2025. This also came from our stormwater management plan and involves improvements to the stormwater infrastructure that goes under McCully Road. It basically is some stormwater infrastructure that balances the water on both sides of the road between 2 large wetland areas. The inlets and outlets of this particular system are extremely susceptible to beaver activity and clogging, and the way that this was originally constructed has those inlets and outlets in locations and in configurations that are incredibly difficult for our crews to access and get to. So the project will look at reconfiguring the inlets and outlets so that one, they function better, and 2, to be able to provide the regular maintenance that they do need because of the environment. And then the third project that we have on our list actually was not on the stormwater management plan. This one is to make some repairs to Kenobi Pond. Kenobi Pond is a large water feature that sits behind the Golf Dome just north of Highway 12. One interesting aspect of this particular pond is it actually sits within the city of Long Lake, but it is in Orono responsibility to maintain it based on some agreements from when MnDOT put through the bypass. The majority of the water that does come to this structure does come from the north, from the Stone Bay area, and to include this area of the school, some of the school goes across there. Our Our inspection crews noted that we had some issues with the embankment on the west side of the pond where we had some water coming through that was weakening that. We did some emergency repairs, but as we did more repairs and moved further along the embankment, we found more weak spots. So we patched it up as best we could, but now we'd like to go and have a permanent fix done. Those fixes would include actually moving where the inlet for this pond is currently. Interestingly enough, and I'm not exactly sure why, there's a ditch that runs all the way from Wayzata Boulevard down, basically down the boundary, all the way to the south side of the pond, does a 180 to dump the water into the pond. And what we're proposing to do is actually put the inlet with the pipe up in the northwest corner. There's still a ditch that feeds from the south, but to eliminate that, we'd be moving the embankment over, basically filling that ditch and moving it over, so there's a slight increase in the capacity of the pond.
Did the design of that contribute to the weaknesses that showed?
It did, because you have now running water that runs down the outside of the western embankment.
Yeah.
And then that combined with just vegetation growth over the decades, which we did go in and clear all that vegetation out, but the roots had done the damage by the time we got there. So yeah, it's an interesting design. I assume that it's just something that was cobbled, over time as different things changed in the area. It probably made sense at one point, but we can't figure out why it's that way.
You just push that wall over?
That's what we're thinking. That's the concept that we want to look at. So the work effort here from design is primarily to look at the work effort to do that, and then as with most stormwater projects, there's a reasonable amount of permitting that we have to do to go through. So that's where the bulk of that engineering design cost comes, is preparing the analysis and the work that we have to do to go get the permits that we need to get that. The work is actually fairly simple.
But to be clear, you're asking for $100,000 for not only the design, but also execution.
Correct. And then I should note that as part of our normal operating, is you'll see as we go through the normal budgeting, is every year we have kind of call it a maintenance placeholder on our stormwater capital improvement plan, which we just call stormwater improvements, and we usually put $100,000 in it. And then normally in a normal year, we're doing a series of kind of smaller projects that we've identified. This coming year, that's the funding source that we will be looking at to do this. If as we do this design, there's additional funds left over, we would go tackle some of those other small projects we need to do.
I was looking at the fees for each one of these items and then the corresponding funding. And something's not adding up for me for number 21, because you've got 161,000 of funding for the first, the Casco, 65,000 for the second one, and then 100,000 for this, which is 326,000. The agenda item, H2, says the budgeted amount is 181,000. And I noticed this because the fee estimate not to exceed by Bolton and Menck is 69,000, which is almost 40% of the entire funding amount. So the math's not working for me.
Okay.
Just adding up all the stormwater items, it's 326,000, which 69,000 would be closer to 21%, and the rest, the others were anywhere between 2 and 11 or 12%, something like that. So if there's additional fees for permitting, then that makes sense. There's just something wrong with what's on paper.
Yeah, there's an error with the 181. Yeah.
So that would be 326.
Yes, I believe you're right about reading the calculation.
Other questions? Anything else that you were doing?
Nope, I was just looking for approval to begin the design on these.
If there are no questions, would anyone care to make a motion to approve these projects?
I make a motion to approve the projects in number 21.
A second?
22.
Excuse me, 22. Thank you. 22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No. All those signify approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 23.
Item 23, the last one of these for today at least, is the, for the Navarre Water Plant control upgrade. The Navarre Water Plant is the water plant in Navarre underneath the water tower, if you're familiar. And the plant does treat all of the drinking water in that area. The controls that make the whole plant go, as well as send us the alarms when things aren't going well, are all dated. They're all near the end of their useful life. In fact, several of the components are no longer supported by their manufacturers. So we're looking at putting a project together to basically replace the control system in that water plant. Last year, the council did approve, and we did conduct a study. We had Bolton Inc., as well as one of their subcontractors, put together a study to look at various options of what we might do. And what they call option number one is what we propose to look at doing. What we're looking for this evening is just to get the approval to do the actual design work for that. This is one project, though, that will, I know you were asking about timelines. This is a project that once we begin actual work will actually be phased over probably a multi-year process so that we can make these swap outs with minimal disruption to the water service.
Will there be disruption?
There will be some disruptions, but most of the things that the residents won't notice, we have agreements in place with our neighbors. So as an example, when there is a point where this water plant can't treat the water, we will bring it down. We will open our interconnect with the city of Spring Park, and Spring Park will provide water for us just as we do for them when they're doing maintenance projects. So we have similar agreements with all our neighboring cities up here. We have Long Lake. Down in the south, we have agreements with both Spring Park and Tunnel Beach.
To be clear, the design phase of this is what you're asking for tonight?
Correct.
Is, how much?
That one is 52,700. Correct. The amount is for design, total fees is $52,700. That includes an optional amount of $3,200 if we choose to complete a radio path study. We may or may not. We'll work around that option. I'm not sure if we'll use radio telemetry to relay those control signals. We're also looking separately to do some fiber optic improvements to all of our facilities that are not necessary.
So we're essentially kind of rebuilding it?
The control portion.
Control part.
Yes. None of the piping or the valves or anything like that. This is just
the controls.
The controls.
Any other questions? Now, I entertain a motion to approve item 23.
Motion to approve item 23.
I second it.
Any further discussion? None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That's the end of our planned resolutions, other than closing to the or moving to the closed session. But it's time for our mayor and council reports. I think we will start with Mr. Persian, if you've got anything to report.
Yeah, I'll just share a couple things. So first, I just want to thank again the folks that elected me. I'm very interested in serving the community and really trying to restore some stability and relationships with our other cities around us, as well as working more positively with just the residents in general. So I did want to give a little bit of an update on some of the informal conversations that we've had since being elected, specific to fire services. And I just wanted to be clear on a few different things as I go through this. So from an incoming city council standpoint, one of the main themes of our candidacy was to restore our relationship and rebuild trust with both the leadership of the city of Long Lake as well as the leadership of the Long Lake Volunteer Fire Department. And we want to do that with respect, thoughtfulness, and urgency. So far, we've had the opportunity to have several informal discussions, and they've been very productive. There's already a lot more of a collaborative environment than we've observed or experienced in the last couple of years. And so one of the examples that I'll share with the group is, in the past, the city of Orono, the Orono Fire Department, was not able to access the Long Lake Fire Station to do something as simple as filling oxygen bottles for their firefighters. And in working with the city of Long Lake in informal discussions, that position has changed. And they're opening up and more than willing to partner with the Orono Fire Department to be able to do that. As we continue to place a high sense of urgency on restoring this relationship, there's even more collaboration being discussed. One of those items that we've talked about is allowing the Orono Fire Department to access Long Lake Fire Department Station 2 and be able to be stationed down there during the day, during their duty crew shifts. And the city of Long Lake has been very supportive of continuing to have discussions to allow the Orono Fire Department to do that. What's critically important is that as we have conversations with Orono, it's of the utmost importance that we remain committed to an urgency to restore our relationship with Long Lake. We don't want to lose sight of continuing to craft and create a path forward. So we'll be very dedicated to doing that. One last thing I want to share with the group. As we chart a path forward, we're 100% committed to doing so in the best interest of the city of Orono, representing the Orono residents, as well as giving thoughtful consideration to the dedicated members of the Orono Fire Department as we move forward. So I just wanted to share that.
I don't have anything to report, thank you.
I'll just mention that Steve and Jacqueline and I had an opportunity last Wednesday to have a sort of a panel discussion, I guess. We were the panelists with the Orono Fire Department firefighters. And it was very interesting, very informative, and they also would, I believe it was Kelly Burkle, who she had recommended having a forum, thank you, with the community, and they would, indications that we got from the firefighters are that they would love that. They would love to share information and listen. So I look forward to working with all of you to make that happen. I think that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just be really short. I just want to thank all the members of the community who came out to support us tonight. Thank you for believing in us. I do want to say that I've been really excited about the progress that the informal meetings have produced with Long Lake and Orono as far as the fire departments go, including the meeting that Claire mentioned that we have with the Orono firefighters. That communication's been wonderful. So hopefully we keep moving forward, and they've all been great meetings, and I think we'll have some success. So thank you.
Thank you. You heard from me earlier, so I will waive my ability to provide a report at this time. So at this point, we are going to look for a motion to close the meeting to discuss outstanding litigation. And I need to read some magic language in that regard. Pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 13D, .05, subdivision 3B, the council will close the meeting for a confidential discussion of strategy and settlement negotiation status in the following matters. Mendel Nygaard versus Orono, case number 022-CV-03191-JFB-DTS. Lake Minnetonka Real Estate 2 LLC versus Felchon et al. Hennepin County District Court File number 27-CV-23-3538. Paul J. Taunton versus the City of Orono, and City of Long Lake versus City of Orono, Hennepin County District Court File Number 27-CV-23-9758. Council has balanced this decision to close the meeting against the purposes of the open meeting law. The council has determined that there's a demonstrated need for absolute confidentiality. Council will be considering settlement, negotiation status, and strategy, and must do so confidentially. I'm now, at this point, I'm asking for a motion to close the meeting under those pretenses.
Motion to close the meeting for a closed session.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you for attending our meeting. We're going to ask you to leave now so we can have this closed section to discuss this. Thank you.
I watched your video.
Don't say I didn't get you out of here. Thank you. 6 minutes.
Elm Street, is that on the west side?
Yeah, no, it's on the east side.
It's on the east side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way north on the east side.
Okay.
You know, where they come together, and then you got the baby, it's up there on the right.
On the north?
Yeah, the northeast side.
The northeast side, okay.
Yeah.
Is it cleaned up now, you think?
Oh, they went all cleaned it up right away, and they took a test and said everything's great. But what they didn't have was my sample, which I tested. I got an online test, and I proved it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I don't know how that you call it.
Well, the crossover.
You mean it got over the...
Yeah, it came from the...
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah, there's a lift station right down there. I had someone that come to me behind the scene.
Yeah.
That's why I did my video, but I wasn't too stupid. I grabbed the sample.
That helps.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And then some... All right.
so who are you?
I'm a cartoonist.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So I was kind of, and I live on
Oh, okay. Where's that?
I live on Summerlin North Park, right west. West side off of Oak Street. All the way down to the end of Oak. It's my driveway. Next door to us is. But it's.
Yeah, it was in the rain.
No, I'm good. No, I gotta go to the game.
Good job, Mayor Temple.
Well, she had a lot of,
Probably could have, I don't know. So, but anyway, it's just like, okay, fine.
But anyway, no, wait, I'm not done yet. Okay, so I know you're getting. Okay, so that's right.
Right.
Is there any insight?
Boring meeting.
off and everybody.
Well, most of it may not be boring.
I'm trying to help her.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Good. My son recently had his car, Paul, and his biggest concern is